student in my teacher evaluation at the end of the class, that was the #1 complaint that people had. It was either too hot or too cold. And like people are bringing like coats. And I'm a big guy, I'm always hot, so I always, when you said that, Hannah, I'm like, go for it. If you want to figure it out, let's do this. But, all right. So, let's get this thing going. Priya, let's do it. All right, so welcome to our first lecture, Ethics in Accounting. And it's a great way to start. We have Priya in the back recording this class for me. So I don't know how ethical it is, but thank you very much for volunteering to do it. Yes, thank you. All right, we'll applaud after this as well. So this is a bonus lecture, so it's not really on your test, but what it is on is your CPA exam, includes ethics, and you know what it is. And so ethics in general are pretty important, right? So an ethics could be defined as a set of moral principles or values. And the best thing about ethics and the worst thing about ethics is the same thing, is that they're all different, right? We all see things differently. There are certain things that we know are wrong, and certain things that we know are right, but there's a lot of gray area, and that's what ethics is all about, okay? So from an accounting standpoint, ethics are pretty clearly defined because they always talk about relevance and faithful representation, right? So as an accountant, you need to be ethical about the information that you produce and the information you distribute. That's the important part. The difficulty, of course, if you're a corporate accountant such as myself, the difficulty is that the management will force you, right, to make the decision that's more beneficial to them. Because what do you really want to say, right? I mean, the higher income that is that you show, the more taxes you have to pay. The lower the income, the less bonus you get. The more upset your shareholders are. So what do you do, right? That's the ethical dilemma. And my standard answer, and if you take any accounting class, the standard answer is the gap. Look at the gap. Well, the gap doesn't always tell you what the right thing is. And doing the right thing is not always clear. What is the right thing? Right? It's not very obvious. So my rule of thumb, and you don't have to live by it, but what I believe in, so if you ask yourself, is this the right thing to do? It's probably not the right thing to do. Right? I mean, if you think about it. Right? And my rule number 2 that I always use is, would I be okay telling my mom about this? Right? So, hey mom, we had all this work to do today. I stayed a little bit later, closed the books like no one's ever closed them before. My mom would be proud of me. Compare it with, let's say, hey mom, we have the auditors coming in tomorrow, so I went in and shredded a bunch of documents before I even saw anything. And then I went home in a dark alley where I parked my car ahead of time because I knew somebody was watching. Right? So think about whether that's something you want to do or not. Probably not. Right? And if you think about business, the way we look at it, we have to assume that there's some sort of ethics, underlying ethics in everything that we do, in every transaction. Right? We have to assume that the other party is somewhat ethical. How could you go to work if you don't think your employer will actually pay you after this? Right? How can you give somebody a term of net 30, right, or give somebody payment terms of any kind if you don't believe that they actually have full intention of paying you? They might not pay you, but at least you think they have the intention to do it. And if you think about online shopping, which is not a big deal now because everybody does it, but we still need to believe that whatever they talk about security and everything else, that it actually does exist. And people have been talking about ethics for many generations. Now it's kind of more apparent because of, the slew of recent accounting scandals you've all heard about. And, what happened to Enron and WorldCom and Pharmalot and all the other companies where bad things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people, deservedly so. But even Adam Smith, who is the father of modern economy, many, many years ago was talking about ethics and trust as the underlying component of all business dealings and all business transactions. And we always ask people, what is your highest aspiration? What do people want? Right? What do you aspire to? And you can say whatever you want to say, right? I mean, some people want all 5. But if you have to pick one, this is a lecture on ethics, so the right answer is integrity. Right? But, honestly, that's not what I would pick. Right? I want wealth. I don't really want fame. Knowledge would be nice. I want to be popular, right? It's about time. I was never popular, so now is a good time to do it. Might as well. So, but realistically, if integrity is not your number one aspiration, well, what's the point? I mean, if you're not trying to be honest, right, it's very tough to do. And you will come across situations, whether you're in accounting or in real life, when you're going to face a little fork in the road. You're going to face a little dilemma, and you're going to say, well, what do I do? Right, the gentleman who left our class a second ago, he said, well, I'm not going to stay for a second half. And I said, why is that? And he's like, well, I'm going to go watch the Warriors game. Hello. Are you accounting? What? Accounting too?
Yeah, accounting.
Okay. All right, so he said, yeah, I'll have to go watch the Warriors game, right? It's probably not the right answer, but it's an honest answer, and I appreciate that. So here's a little question for you. How many students do you think cheat on their exams in high school? Right. What would be your guess? Any guess is fine.
25.
25, 100?
I say it's 38.
50? Well, the study says that it went from 20% to 75% today. I honestly agree with Hannah, because I think it's 100, right? I think the other 25 are lying about not cheating. So, in my opinion, right? And I mean, the true question is, right, why are they not cheating? Right? I mean, is it because the 25% of people are so honest? Or is it because 25% of people are so afraid of getting caught or haven't figured out a good way to do it? It could be any of those things, right? And I mean, you can believe that the world is really full of honest people who want to do the right thing. I think people are a bunch of cheaters. Right? And people always say that cheating, I mean, no, to be honest with you, right? I mean, I admit it. I would cheat a lot more if I knew I wouldn't get caught. Right? I mean, our whole system, our tax system is based on self-reporting your income, right? You report your income on your own. You value your deductions on your own. Who knows how many clothes you've actually donated to Goodwill, right? They can't count it. They trust you. They know you're cheating, right? They trust you. Right? They know you're lying, right? But it's like when you go to the DMV and they ask you what's your weight, your driver's license, you tell them what your weight is, right? I mean, they're not going to put a scale on that. They don't care. If you say 450 pounds, they're going to say, well, you don't look like a 450-pound person, Hannah. But okay, let's go with that. Right? But I mean, normally, they don't care. And that's the whole thing. And so the same thing in college, people cheat for a career, is what we say, right? So if you cheat in college, the upside of cheating in college is very high. Because you pass the class, you get a job. Right? There are a lot of classes that people can't pass without cheating, whether it's right or wrong. So they try. In high school, they cheat because of laziness. They cheat because they don't know any better, because they don't have any values. But they cheat for a better grade. Right? But if you think about it, what does a better grade get you? I mean, nobody says, you know, I thought I was going to be a multi-billionaire, but then I got a C- in physics in high school, and now that's it for me. Right? Now, you cheat for a grade. And I always think about baseball, because that's my favorite sport, my favorite thing to do. But if you think about people who cheat, you know, there's a lot of steroid scandal in baseball and everything else. And if you compare Major League players to AAA players, right? So players in Major Leagues make how much? What's an average salary in Major Leagues?
$80 a year.
Right. So yeah. So an average salary is actually somewhere between that. I think an average salary today is $2.7 million in the Major Leagues. Okay. The minimum salary in the Major Leagues is what? I think this year it's $480,000 a year. That's pretty good living. That's a pretty good living if you can make it. In the minor leagues, let's start with AAA, which is the minor leagues right below Major League, right? AAA is the highest level of minor leagues. And the average salary in AAA is just under $100,000. So if you make that jump from AAA to Major Leagues, you go from $90,000, let's say, to $1.5 million, or at least guaranteed to $480 million. Right? Going from 90,000 to 100,000 is a nice range. Going from 90,000 to 480,000 is a lifetime, a lifestyle change. It's a change in everything, really. I mean, and if you think of a lot of players in AAA, especially because there's a lot of cheating among Hispanic players. Players come from Latin countries, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba, now more so than anything else. I mean, the thinking is that if you just cheat enough to make it to major leagues, you stay there for 3 years, you make a couple $1 million, that's enough for you to go back to your country and live there for the rest of your life without worrying about anything. Maybe your safety, but without worrying about anything else. And that's the general idea. So cheating in AAA is a lot more prevalent because of that, because the stakes are much higher. Right? Yes, you get caught, you get suspended for 50 games, or whatever, suspension is 80 games, you lose half your paycheck. But if you don't get caught, you make a life-changing amount of money. That's why cheating is so dangerous. All right, Priya, thank you very much. I think we got how much?